Okay, so wrapper classes are the classes which are used instead of using the primitive type. So we have seen in the earlier section that we are using a lot of primitive data types, but we have used something called string also. So, but other than string, we tried using primitive types. So wrapper classes are kind of a used in place of primitive type. So suppose you have int primitive type, so corresponding we have wrapper class. If you see here in below, we have integer int, then corresponding we have integer byte, we have byte, short, we have short. So these are the data type, primitive data type, and corresponding we have wrapper classes. So wrapper classes are provided by Sun Java, and which are available in different packages. Most of them are in Java Lang packages, and few of them are in math packages. So what is the benefit of using the wrapper class? Okay, so before listing the benefit, let's see one image here. So wrapper class, here it says that it decodes class for primitive. So if whatever you have primitive data type, it changes corresponding to wrapper class. So wrapper classes are like other classes which has a encapsulated form of your primitive type. So all the primitive type characteristics are available in that wrapper classes. So on apart from those things, wrapper classes provided a lot of facilities because it is a object oriented kind of model. So where it will have a lot of APIs methods that can solve a lot of purpose. So if you see here, wrapper classes and primitive type, those can be interchanged. Okay, and primitive type to string we can change. So int to string and string to int, and wrapper class to string, those can be changes. Those can be changed. So wrapper class, primitive type, and string, these things we can do the interchange, convert from one to another, from string to primitive, string to wrapper, wrapper to string, wrapper to primitive, primitive to wrapper. So this kind of conversion we can do using our wrapper class. Okay, so what is the benefit of using the wrapper class? Going forward, when we talk about collection, they accept uh, the object, they don't accept primitive types. So for using to use in the collection, we need primitive we need wrapper for primitive. So because those are the object. So suppose you have something called array is a collection of similar data type. So in the case of array, you can use int, you can use primitive data type to store into the array. But whenever you are going for a collection where you are trying to store objects, the collection framework works on the object. So where that is the place where you need to have the wrapper classes instead of using the primitive data type. Primitive wrapper classes adds more functionality and methods over primitive types. Okay, so it will, because it is a class, it will have a lot of static methods, a lot of APIs which can be helpful using the wrapper classes.